Good day. So I'm sure if you follow the pervading narrative, it seems insane. We're talking about the disclosure. If you follow Cliff High, if you follow Theories of Everything with Kurt Jamungle, if you've ever tuned in on Jesse Michaels' channel, which to late, I think honestly many of them are lost and they are going into what they know, which is selling out. They've got everybody from Logan Paul, i.e. Jesse Michaels' channel, to Brian Johnson, Kurt Jimungles, as they've gotten lost in the tapestry, where it's interesting that Jesse Michaels would use the term midwit on a physicist, Tyson, and there he is. There he is in all his self-promulgating affluence of using 50-cent words and making rich people richer and riding along the rails that is a sellout. What do we have? What are we left with? It was just for views. And that age of the celebrity that I wrote about and discussed on my blog, esotericprinciplesoflife.blogspot.com, many years ago, is more true than ever today. And it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse in the sense that when you look at division, most people don't realize the power that digital assets have. If a mind, a psionic mind, can affect random number generation, imagine what it can do when there's greed, a cathartic greed fueled behind it, and there's one of these assets is taking out a long or a short position, right? So we're not just talking about some woo-woo hocus pocus, we're talking about the practical application of taking all your guns, all your weapons out. And that is what the Pharisees and the Sadducees and what Cliff High talks about, the Khazarian mafia, that's what they do. They blend time, they interfere with the vortices of mathematics and how a sense of a natural reality, if there is any, would sort of interplay and interweave this tapestry. And it's been talked about throughout antiquity with Clotho, weaving time, witches, ironically. You have Mother Circe, a witch. You have witchcraft and mindcraft involved in the most foundational, fundamental aspects of this tapestry, and it's polemic and warlike in all of its efforts. And lately, I've been needing, really for the last 12, I'm going to say my entire life and prior to in this world, an answer to all this. And it seems like the answers, when we look at John Dee, we look at sacred geometry, we look at the non-Euclidean spherical mathematics with foundational computer sciences, we may have found the answer, which I think is highly likely, many people, and only to overlook it because there is no resounding outcome when you do find the answer. And I think the answer is as simple as what's displayed on a Pink Floyd album cover. You have a diamond and you have the filtration of pure energy into the color spectrum and back into pure energy. What if you designed a perfect crystalline structure, held at absolute zero like a quantum computer requires, right? But actually going beyond theoretical absolute zero, and even possibly theoretically being able to break absolute zero. You would slow time to a crawl, and trapping light inside of a perfect crystalline structure. This is implied in thermodynamics. This is how these quantum machines are able to derive the probabilistic notions, the gestures, the aspects that follow mimetic number sequences and trails that fork off into probabilities and outcomes that have no rationale here. Because here we are looking at our 5 digits thinking that this is somehow coming from a natural source. In other words, the bioengineering is right in front of our faces. But I do believe that there had to be an analog aspect to this. And so there had to be a divisionary, disparate, separation and aspect to this analog crystalline computer matrix that requires no input. It just has to be left alone, held in a containment field where light bounces infinitely and eternally within itself, creating the core that ripples out to what we esteem as reality in the make. Is it in the moon? Is it in a center fugal place, right? Where we have movement that appears to be going about very slowly, where in fact everything is spinning and rotating and orbiting at an unprecedented speed. And it is only our interpretation of time, but our separation from the grand unification of first time principles. What is a parsec? What is Max Planck's distance? What are these appendages that we have in front of us, where we cognitively assume as these rate propagation signals travel at 220 miles per hour from node of Ranvier to node of Ranvier, and we take that as our reality? So time, the Zeitgeber, if you will, is fundamentally important for us to crack this code. But once we crack this code, what is left on the other side? So we always bend to a serendipity. We always bend to a euphoria because we think, and that's the beauty of the Wizard of Oz, and how the Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz, was a complete and total farce. You know, you have these rapists, murderous midgets who are pushed out and rejected and turned into the most vile people that are actually working on the set and pretending, posturing themselves as these faux elemental sort of spiritual creatures that are inviting and so full of life, when most of them were just drunk or high on set, trying to molest and rape the people that are the actors and the actresses around them. So there is that dichotomy, right? There is that dichotomy. But what do I believe? What's the only place that I can turn to? That somewhere in this hieroglyphic monad, John Dee sacred geometrical structure that is talked about everywhere all the time, even now, it invades and captivates us on such a primary scale. It's like we went through this assault and we're trying to figure out where the perpetrator is. And the perpetrator is set into motion through the misleading, machinating, diabolical aspects that are found in the Khazarian and Pharisee production system. I used to call it the Jewish Plato machine. Whether or not these are true Jews or those who sort of assaulted, accosted, and stole Jewish traditions. I'd like to think that there was a benevolent person at the center, right, that discovered the phi or phi formulation and saw these 6 principles and this sort of, I don't know, we use the term monad, but we have to work toward this this other term called metanoia, that we work into this Merkaba psionic operational unit, and we are always sitting here inside of it, and we're faced with these 5 digits, knowing that there should be a 6th, knowing that we are bowing to the altar, the earthen altar. When you even look at the inverted pentagram and you see that altar before you, and you see a room, a place for that 6th principle, right there, then and there, and then compartmentalizing with these dualistic or double lines, the snake eating its tail, samsara. We see blatantly right before us the actions and the rituals that occur still, probably moved at Bohemian Grove, that Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, that the Bilderbergs and all other greedy little short-sighted conformists have bowed to this religion. And the religion is, you can say, oh, it's Baal, it's more Baphomet and Pan. You can get into these, but it's throwing you off. What it is blatantly right in front of you, and it is the presupposition, the notional aspect of an inferred sacred geometrical non-divine structural unit that captures and reroutes energies and is in fact the tree of life, and this forked edition of the phi or phi base mathematical scale, the solfeggio notes, if you will.